Do 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 do. Opening up a thing and it's starting and I had words and I forgot them. Hello everybody, it's Captain Coots back again, and we are working on our Fallout New Vegas tutorial through the case study of Mobile Truck Base, bringing it up to Tale of Two Wastelands. Well, to use it in Tale of Two Wastelands. If you watched the previous video where we had to restructure how we set up the GEC, it'll add construction kit here. Don't use GEC anymore, the one we set up, use this one. Go ahead and hit run, and once that's open, we are going to find our mobile truck base mod, set it as active, hit OK, and while we're waiting, we'll discuss our tasks associated with this project. All right, so our first step was to bring this whole mobile truck base thing up into Tale of Two Wastelands 3.2 compliance. It was out of compliance. We had to edit some script instances there and make a design choice, which we have a new series of videos I'm calling my whiteboard videos, where I explain the thoughts behind those design choices. The next step here, well, we have a little half step in here because we introduced a little bug. We fixed it. Was we fixed the fuel bug. And I think we did a great job doing that. We did make a non-bug, a useless feature that I'm going to have to remove today. We'll show you how to do that. And once again, we made another design choice, so there's another whiteboard video. Today, we are going to revise the Capital Wasteland to Mojave Wasteland travel. The way that Mobile Truck Base was doing it was not really savvy, didn't work well necessarily with the way that Tale of Two Wastelands wants to do it. And so we're going to make sure that we set it up to mimic and mirror how they do it. Essentially, I've just told you my design choice. I'm not even going to bother like pointing it out, making a separate video of it. We want this to work well with Tale of Two Wastelands, so we're going to do things the way they do. Period. That's my design choice. Okay. The little non-bug, non-feature that I introduced is in fuel container script. And basically right here, I use ammo flamer fuel robot, and I found out while digging into what that actually is, it's only an ammo that's used by monsters in the area, basically, to fire off fire attacks. It's not something we can loot or use, so it gets deleted. The script gets saved and compiled, so that little star will go away, and yeah, it's good to go now. That's the only place we mentioned it, so it's the only fix that we have to make. Another good reason of making that design choice and making truck fuel is that was the single instantiation of that thing. I didn't have to go through other scripts and delete it from all of them. Done. Okay. Now today, since we're fixing travel, there's two scripts of note that we want. We want the New Vegas travel script, which handles traveling to the other wasteland for the first time, and van travel quest script, which is our normal moving around script. Okay. Now to find out how Tale of Two Wastelands do it, we're going to type that in, and they've got a whole bunch of Tale of Two Wastelands scripts. But we use our heads, and we know that there's a train. So I'm going to go star train. It's giving me all Tale of Two Wastelands that have train in it. Hey, trip quest script, that's probably the one. All right, so the first thing I want to do is look at what Tale of Two Wastelands does. How do they set it up? And so that we can kind of mimic it a little bit, okay? So begin game mode means this is what triggers all the time for the script from this quest. I now figured out what script delay is on the quest. It's sort of how many game seconds it waits until it triggers a game mode again. Okay, so I travel. Train switch has been flipped, so it's time to travel. So my guess is if that's a 0, then the switch has not been flipped. We're not traveling. If it's a 1, we are traveling. Okay, and we can look in this game mode. This if statement right here, I'm going to keep my mouse steady, is essentially everything. Okay, so if it's not flipped, this just goes bloop, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. If that switch is flipped, aha. Now, transit stage starts up at 0, and this is how he sort of, in Tale of Two Wastelands, they broke up the travel into little blocks. Okay. First thing they did here, set iStage done to get stage VG00 greater than 0. All right, so it's either going to set iStage to 0 or 1. We should check out what VCG00 is, but we'll do it in a minute, okay? Then we set the transit stage to 1, so that's going to advance what stage we're in. Start a little timer, and then disable all the controls. And this linked ref here, the X marker for train effects, it disables it. We're not going to worry about that, but that's essentially the very first stage of travel. Kind of priming stuff, okay? Now, immediately, we're going to go through down here. We're going to come back up. Oh, hey, set train to stage. It's set to 1, so it is 1. Now, if that timer we started is less than 5, so it's going to tick, tick. Oh, hey, we've waited long enough. What we're going to do is we're going to enter the next stage of transit, and we're going to play a sound of the turbine powering up. Now, if iStage done, so we look here, if this is set to 1, then we're going to TTW fade to black, 5 second is FX. Otherwise, we're going to fade to white. So this is something I want to keep an eye on here on why we're going to fade to black versus fade to white. And we'll see how it's used, okay? Now it goes through again. Oh, hey, we're on iStage 2. Now, if that stage is done, so we faded to black, okay? What I want to notice here is that this block gets done if we fade it to black, okay? Now, if it's 0 and we fade it to white, this block gets done, okay? So let's see what the difference is, okay? The major difference is we can look at the white fade out first. We advance transit, and then we do the 3 years later, boom, and then it fades out, okay? This is for the very first time traveling. That's what this thing is used for, okay? Now, we advance transit 3 years later. Now we fade to black for 2 seconds after that, and we set a timer. Cool, okay? If we had faded to black the first time for 5 seconds, here's what happens, okay? We are no longer traveling. Oh, hey, set the transit stage to 0. If we were in the DC Wasteland, okay, we're going to move to the train marker, whatever. We're going to advance game hour by 336 hours. If we remember correctly, that's 2 weeks. And set the last exit door activated to be Union Station ref. Okay, great. Then we're going to set in the Nevada Wasteland to 1 so that we now, I don't know why that's alt-tabbed. There we go. So now we're in Nevada. We're going to disable, these are radio stations. That's what this function does. Disable the DC radio stations, enable the New Vegas radio stations, and then set our world location to 512. That must be Nevada or whatever. So great. Okay. Otherwise, if we were in the Nevada Wasteland, we're going to move to, now if we look at these are both the same except for New Vegas and DC. So we're going to move to the DC train marker. Fine. Advance by 2 weeks. Set the last activated door to, and we look APS, Union Station. So this one right here is in, whatchamacallit, Nevada, and this one's in DC. Now we set that we're in DC, set our world location to 3, and then disable the New Vegas radio stations and enable the DC radio stations. End if. Now we're going to play a little bink. 2 weeks later, we're going to enable the train station and then re-enable player controls. Awesome. Okay, so how do we get to transit stage 3 here? If we look, it doesn't happen here. So for the short travel, we never do transit stage 3. Okay, for the long travel, the very first time that we made that travel, transit stage gets set to 3. Let's look at what 3 is. Okay, and make sure that the timer keeps on ticking. Now it sets transit stage to 4. It moves us to a particular X marker, turns our pit boy light off, sets a new timer. So after 2 seconds or so, we go into transit stage 4. We're no longer traveling. Reset all the transit stages, okay, and re-enable the X marker, right? Now we look here, there's a lot going on here. It saves hotkeys, which I don't really have an appreciation for, but we're going to make sure we do it, okay? It removes all items and adds them to TTW Stolen Weapons Ref 11. Okay, I don't know what that does necessarily, but I'm going to keep it. And then we have this modified hour thing, which we've used before. Okay, so this advances the in-game clock so that we are at roughly the exact starting point for Fallout New Vegas. Okay, great. So we're going to use that formula for sure. It sets the game hour to this modified hour. Awesome. It calls TTW restore player condition function script. So I think what that does is it's going to get rid of like all of our conditions that we might have had, like, I don't know, hunger or what have you, upon exiting the DC Wasteland. Set the last active door to, hey, the one in New Vegas. We are now in New Vegas. Disable the DC radio stations. Enable the New Vegas radio stations. Set our location to 512. I remember what VCG100 is now. This is the intro video. That's right. So since we've made it our first time, do the New Vegas intro video. And run it. Awesome. Okay. That's how this is handled. In one script, beautifully. Okay. This decided to handle it in two different scripts. And I think what I might want to do, let me see here. No, I'm going to keep it broken up like this. Okay. Strictly because what the Tale of Two Wastelands train station doesn't have to worry about is local travel. Okay. So I definitely want to keep this script over here for handling local travel. And this one right here is, well, it's local and possibly long distance travel, but not for the first time. This one is long distance travel for the first time. So what I want to do is I want to set this one up right here, our long distance travel first time, to follow a similar feel to this, except there's going to be some notable differences. Okay. So first off, we have a timer, do once, traveling. Okay. Nothing is commented, which is painful here. But what we're going to assume here, well, first off, traveling is automatically set to 0 first off. And so when we enter in here, traveling is going to be 0. Great. We are not traveling yet. It's going to check the fuel container in the truck, check for our truck fuel. And if we do not have enough for the long trip, we're going to print the fail message. Hey, we can't leave DC. Okay. And it's going to reset the travel quest that this guy's attached to. Okay. That sounds fine. If we have enough fuel, we're going to remove fuel long. We set an int hours traveled to, and we had used this here to advance time in a similar way that they did over there. If hardcore tracking is 1, then we're going to advance the hours safely in the manner that we set up, and then advance hardcore needs according to the proxy that we had decided. Okay, so that uses all those variables there. Does this line go? Okay, yeah, it does. It goes on 1 character extra. There we go. Otherwise, if hardcore tracking is not, we're just going to set game hour to hours traveled plus game hour. Now you might be asking, well, why aren't we advancing time in here? Because I just don't remember. All right. Well, when we open that up, hardcore safe travel, or is it hardcore safe advance hours? This does the hours advancing for us, just in a way that we don't accumulate hardcore needs. Okay. So that gets closed. Come back over here. So far this feels okay. It's in a slightly different order than all this, but we've done all the time management stuff, and I feel pretty good about that. Okay. Now, this disable all locations, I'm not going to mess with it. I think it's probably fine. And then we look right here, we are disabling the DC destination and marker. Awesome. And then we turn on VGS marker. So my guess is that's where the truck is going to wind up when we get to New Vegas. I'm not even going to explore it that well. We needed this travel book that we got from the glove compartment to make this first trip. Remove that item. Okay. Now we've got all this disable player controls in a different manner to here. Set timer to 7. Cribbing some notes here. Do once. Sure. Traveling equals 1. Okay. So this right here, first and foremost, I want to set it up like this one. Okay. So 1 0 0 0 0 0 0. I don't know what the inputs are. All I know is I want to match the TTW script. That's my fucking goal. Okay. Now, if traveling is 1, now we're actually making the trip. Okay. This timer equals, or this set timer to timer minus get seconds passed. This is equivalent to essentially one of the very last lines in this script right here. Okay. It's how we're just advancing the timer. And that's why it can go negative, in fact. Okay. So if we're traveling, if timer is less than 5, ooh, this feels familiar, which is right up here. That was our transit stage 1, more or less. Okay. And do once is the same as 0. We're going to set do once to 1, which means we've done it now. And then they have this iMod. Fade to white is FF as FX. Blah, 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 blah. Now, if we recall, okay, is stage done? So if the video has never been shown, this is going to be 0, which means this 0 is not greater than 0. So iStage done gets set to 0. So we come here, and yes, we do fade to white is FX. Great. This matches. And then we play a TDX truck driving sound. Feel great about that. Okay. That's going to last for a couple seconds. Okay. This is essentially transit stage 2 without having the different transit stage ticks. Okay. It's just going to come back through. Hey, we're traveling still. And then when it comes through, it says, hey, is my timer finally negative? Has 5 seconds at least already passed? Sure. Not 9 years later. 3 years later. Okay. That is, if we trace this out, if we remember our code from before in transit stage 2, okay, we are not doing this part, we're doing the else, okay, which was a 3 years later, and then a fade to black, and then resetting a timer for 2 seconds. Okay, 3 years later, oh, we've got a fade to white. Let's go ahead and use the TTW fade, okay. TTW fade to black 2 seconds is FX. Okay, that's the one we're going to use. Fan-fucking-tastic. Okay, now we have all these enabling controls and all this and that. This is done differently here. This is all done in stage 4 when the timer goes back down to 0. Okay, we have a 2 second. I'm not going to bother resetting the timer again. I think this is fine. Okay, we just have a 2 second wait. Now enable player controls. We are going to delete. And I think the VCG00 is going to handle the enable controls for us. Okay. Call enable DC Wasteland. Whoops, there's a bug. Because what we see right here is it's turned on DC radio and New Vegas radio. Okay, we want to disable DC Wasteland. Disable. Enable New Vegas Wasteland radio. Awesome. Set location to 512. Awesome. Okay, so far so good. This is matching basically these guys right here. Okay, now one thing that we don't have is there's a set B in New Vegas Wasteland to 1. Okay, where is that used? I don't know. Let's go ahead and call it. Okay, it's not gonna hurt. So if we look at this final stage 4, which was the one that only gets called. Okay, these things right here, not gonna worry about them. Okay, actually we might. I think we're going to dick with those in a minute. Okay. We want to do save all hotkeys, and we're going to remove all items. Stolen ref. Hey, that's right here, but slightly different. Okay. So I'm going to copy these 2 lines of code, which I can't do any other way than this. I clicked there. Thank you. Paste them right there. And what's nice is these are referencing Tale of Two Wasteland functions with, this is a struct, or rather it's referencing a variable on there, with save hotkeys, which is something that is not defined in this script. So it's something that exists in the creation kit, which will work. Remove all items, TTW stolen weapon ref. That's going to be fine. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this line right here. Oop, because that mimics one another. Advanced time. We've already advanced time. Okay. Now, this player reset health, I'm going to go ahead and remove that, and we're going to do this restore player condition function script. All right, I'm going to trust that it takes care of all the things that would be necessary for resetting health in a manner that is consistent with Tale of Two Wastelands, so we're going to use it. Okay. All right. Set last door activated Union Station ref. So we haven't activated any doors. We've never been in the train station. So we want to make sure that possibly we do any sort of cleanup that might be required, and then I'm going to have to look up some other things. But set in New Vegas Wasteland to 1. We're definitely going to want to do that because we are now in New Vegas Wasteland. Have we done that yet? We make our travel. We disable some crap. Traveling. No, we haven't. All right, so let's go ahead and set that right there. So where did we set DC Wasteland to 0? No. 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 You know what? I'm going to do it anyway. Because I think it's something that's probably handled in another auxiliary function in DC Wasteland to 0. Okay, because we're no longer there. Now, we have disabled and enabled the radio stations. So actually, let me move that here. Just again, trying to like at least cosmetically sort of match the flow of this script here. Okay. Now, set times and all that stuff. We've already done that. We're not actually going to just set the game thing. We've done it with game hour. So we're good to go. And I can tell right now, I'm using a version that I've already sort of screwed with a little bit. And I can't believe I did that. We're going to start quest VCG00. We're not going to bother with this. Okay. The line that we're going to use is this one right here. The set B run timer to 1. Copy. Oh, I remember now. No, I hadn't edited this. That was a way to get into Doc's house immediately. Okay, what we're doing instead is we're starting that quest and then we run this bit here, this run timer to 1. That allows us to watch the video. Okay, reset this travel quest that this is attached to, and we're done. Okay, I think there is nothing that we've missed here except for like turning the Pip-Boy light off. I don't care about that. The one thing that we have missed is the sort of disabling and enabling of the X markers. Now, I'm sure the train can go from Nevada or New Vegas to DC on its first try. So let's see here. If we've already watched this, this means we started in New Vegas. And so that means is stage done gets set to 1. We come through here, fade to black. We come to here. Huh, I'll be damned. They don't support going from New Vegas to DC for the first time, showing the DC intro video. That's interesting. Maybe that's something that we can do. I don't know how to do that. What I'm going to say right now is we have handled that if you leave from DC and go to New Vegas, we've handled that in the same exact way that TTW does, you know, minus a few little hiccups here and there. This R linked ref business right here, okay, the X marker for train effects, I'm not going to worry about it, frankly, because I think this will handle it a-okay, or TTW will handle it a-okay without us messing with it. If it doesn't, then I'll have to look into it, okay? But I'm going to save and close that up. Now, what I want to handle, excuse me, actually go this way, is the cross wasteland travel if it's not our first time, okay? So this is within wasteland travel, so I don't care about any of this block, okay? This else block, we can see we got fuel long in there. This is our cross wasteland travel, and we've already set it up to just take 2 weeks, okay? Now, so I want to handle it in, again, a similar manner. So this disable controls bit gets changed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great. And then 9-second black fade out. This has a 5-second black fade out. Let's go and use the 9 one. That should be fine. They set a 20-second timer. Okay. It plays the truck driving sound. after 0 seconds have passed, and then it starts incrementing the timer. Now this else statement, not elf statement, is attached to if timer is the same as 0. So if it's not the same as 0, what we're going to come up here is we're going to, if the DC destination is disabled, then we're going to disable the marker and disable DC radio and enable New Vegas radio. So this means we've gone to New Vegas, okay? And then the recovery ref, okay, that's enabled because that's where we're going to travel back. And the opposite there, if the otherwise, enable the DC marker, disable New Vegas radio, enable DC radio. Awesome. All right, so that all looks great. Then we have all of our local travel. Holy shit. All right, and all this is doing is picking various locations and putting you there. Okay, so we don't have to necessarily mess with that. The one thing that we are missing, if you want to say it's like our not, it's not our first time traveling, okay, is that when we make the long trip, we do nothing to set our world location in TTW. So my guess is that's something that's relatively new. So we're going to handle it here, okay? So this first block, just so that we don't forget, this is travel to New Vegas. And this second block right here is travel to DC. Okay. Now we're going to recheck our train scripts right here. And if we notice, like, they're both like, hey, advance time, move to a particular location. This last door activated, I'm not going to mess with it. This right here, set Nevada Wasteland the one. This chunk, I'm going to copy. Even though we're doing 2 of the things already, I'm going to copy and paste it as we are going to New Vegas. Boop. And all of these indents are garbage. Okay, great. And let's go ahead and get rid of this space. All right. And then I'm going to grab this stuff right here to denote that I'm now in DC. Okay, great. I'm going to save that, and it compiled because the little asterisk went away. And we have a play bank, which we should probably do, then an enable controls. Because if I look here, where is control enabled? Way down here. Okay, with no arguments here. We've got a bunch of ones. Okay. How many ones do we have? Boop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are various inputs to the function enable player controls. I don't know what they are. I don't actually really care. Okay. I want to play this Bic. And I want to do it. Are we fade to white or do we fade to black? Because will that show up on black? If it's done, play black. Come here. Play this. Yeah, okay. So we must be able to. All right. We're going to go ahead and put it. Where are we going to put it? It's such a mess here and there. Right. Jesus. Right there. Okay. So 2 weeks later, that's passed. We enable controls, yada, yada, yada. We don't need to deal with anything else from this script. No. I made some accidental changes. Don't want to save them. All right. I have saved that. It compiled, and I'm going to save my mod. And that's basically it. Okay. I've made the travel as best I can mirror what's going on in New Vegas. I did not plan on doing this next part, so you can stop watching right now if you feel like it. What is my mod order here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so 07 should be Fallout 3. All right. Oh boy, there's a lot in 00. So this is they have the DLC quests from there. And then we start moving on with DLC. Okay. What I'm curious about is what is the very first... Why do we have duplicate 00s in here? Oh my god. I want to find out what the very first quest is for Fallout 3. Okay. Actually, what's the name of that? Let's look that up. I'm going to open up the browser over here. Fallout 3 quests. Go to the Fallout wiki, the fan wiki here. Whoa. Okay, ridiculous friggin' resolutions here. Zoom out. Hey, get some ads or whatever. Okay. Baby Steps is the very first quest. All right, what is it called in the editor? So we see editor ID right here. CG01. So there's probably a CG00. Let's see. CG00. Here it is right here. All right. And Fallout intro. Cool. We should do that. Oh, but then we're a baby. Oh, no. We don't want to do that. I do want this, though. Copy. Let's steal that. Steal that right now. Script. TDX. All right. And so if I looked here, traveling timer, fade to black, yada, 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 reset quest, travel New Vegas. So this, actually, this entire thing right here assumes that we're going to Nevada from DC. Can we not go the other direction? Well, this proves my non-familiarity with this mod, as I haven't played it much. But right here, next 3 lines, handle DC to New Vegas for the first time, so you watch the intro and get shot. Oh, whoops, next 2 lines. Now what I'm doing right here, this next line, commented, will allow us to have New Vegas to DC travel if you started in FNV and see the video. Okay. You know, everybody suggests that you play it Fallout 3 first. So you start in DC and then go to the Mojave Wasteland. But I guess there's nothing keeping you from playing it the other way, so I should probably do that. All right, I'm gonna hit save. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna hit save, and I'm gonna end the video. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for when we do other stuff. Okay.